Good evening, everyone. Happy Tuesday. It's 7 o'clock and it's Dog Tag Diva time. Hope everybody's having a good week so far. May is Mental Health Awareness Month. It is Military Appreciation Month. And today is Nurses Day. Happy Nurses Day to all my civilian and military nurses out there, active and retired. God bless you if you're retired. I'm so jealous. How much longer do I have to retirement? 49. So I got probably about, 11 to 12 years to go. Hoping I can hang on that long. Anyway, yes, Nurses Day starts today. Hospitals around the country are celebrating Nurses Week. And I thought, in honor of Nurses Day and Nurses Week, I would spend a little time this evening talking about my military and civilian nursing career. I've talked about my military background a little bit. I've talked about my deployment in the past, but I thought tonight might be a great time to show some pictures of my career and kind of talk about what it's like to be a military nurse and a civilian nurse. So, how did I go from baby nurse? That is not me. It's, an AI version of me. I'm not a big fan of AI, going to be totally honest. But, when I was in nursing school in the mid 90s, we didn't have camera phones and we didn't carry our cameras around with us. So there's really no pictures of me as a student nurse, as a, even early in my career. And as a nurse, there's literally only one picture of me as a nurse, and it is in this slide. It's later on from my deployment. But so this is AI's version of me as a young nurse. I mean, it's close. I wish I had a picture of myself in my nursing school uniform in the seersucker blue and white dress with the white pantyhose and the white shoes. And then we had a shirt version of that, a top, and it actually zippered in the back. And I'm looking back, I'm not sure how we zipped ourselves up into that thing because the dress and the top zipped in the back. We wore white pants and white shoes, and our hair had to be up in a bun and off our collar. And it was college. It was good times. Nursing school was good times. I'm totally lying. It was stressful and awful. Let's be honest. Stressful and awful for sure. Very long, 4 years to get that bachelor's degree. It's one of the hardest degrees. I believe it's in the Guinness Book of Records, or if it isn't anymore, it used to be, is one of the hardest degrees to obtain. So how did I go from baby nurse, young nurse, to young lieutenant junior grade in this picture here? Gosh, it seems like a lifetime ago. And to currently where I am now, and there we go, to commander in the Navy. Gosh, I still can't believe I even was able to attain that. It was a long time coming. But so I figured tonight I will talk about similarities and differences between military nursing and civilian nursing. The unique challenges and rewards of both sides of the coin. And talk about pathways, training requirements, career progression opportunities that we have available. So I wanted to be a nurse from the time that I was 12 years old. When people will ask, what did you want to be when you were a kid? I wanted to be a nurse. When I was really little, I wanted to be, a triple threat. I wanted to be a singer and a model and an actress. And that didn't last long. I decided that I wanted to be a nurse. And it's all I ever wanted to be. So 1994, I entered DeSales University. At the time, it was Allentown College. Now it's DeSales University. It changed many years ago. But so I entered college with the intent of earning my bachelor's degree in nursing. 4 years of trials and tribulations and tears and drama. I graduated in 1998 with my bachelor's degree in nursing, and I started out at Hahnemann University Hospital in Philadelphia. May they rest in peace. They closed down, I believe, about a year before the pandemic. And what a shame. But yeah, large 48-bed surgical telemetry floor. It was really kind of a hodgepodge of medicine, and a really, really challenging environment to work in as a new nurse. Late 90s, we were still kind of, nurses were eating their young, quote unquote. So it was really challenging time. Not great mentoring. I got some support, but it was a really challenging environment for me. And about a little less than a year and a half later, I jumped ship and I went to Children's Hospital Philadelphia to work in the pediatric intensive care unit, and really kind of fell in love with critical care and pediatrics. When I was in college, I never thought I would wind up in pediatrics. It was never a thought in my mind. But I just fell in love with critical care and pediatrics, and I have spent the bulk of my career in pediatrics, to be very honest, in many facets. I've done home care, which includes school nursing and taking kids to school, being a private duty nurse, and doing transports for kids who in the custody of the Department of Children and Family Services. God, I've been a nursing instructor clinically and in didactic. And again, home care was one of those fields that I never thought that I would wind up in, because I hated it in college. And once I wound up with Beata Home Health Care doing private duty, I really enjoyed it. And I really loved being with the kids. I really loved substitute school nursing. That was really fun. And they've all got pros and cons, right? Elementary school, middle school, high school. I love the elementary school kids. They always come down with a chaperone, and it's really just hilarious. I enjoyed them. I enjoyed all of it. And I loved being with Beata Home Healthcare. I am missing them tremendously since I moved down here in Florida, where I am. There's just no office near me. But they are a great organization. And Mark Beata himself is a Navy man, and they were very supportive of my military career. And so they get a shout out for me for being really supportive of my time in service. So what happened? Well, I do have a family history of military service. My grandfather, my dad's father, was in the Navy on a destroyer, the USS Stockton, during World War II. And my great uncle Arthur, and Artie, as we called him, and my uncle Nevio, they both served in World War II as well. My uncle Artie was in the Army, and Uncle Nevio was in the Air Force. So the family history was there. And my dad's brother, Uncle Mark, served in the Air Force for many years, active duty, and then transitioned to Air National Guard, and retired several years ago as a lieutenant colonel. But the family history was there, and I felt compelled to serve my country and be a part of something bigger than myself. Nursing wise, I had been a nurse at this point for 11, 12 years. By the time I joined the service, I was 35. And I figured it was now or never. I needed to do this, and just really wanted to serve my country and do something different in nursing, and put myself out there and carry on the family tradition, to be totally honest. So I really am proud of my being the first woman in my family to serve. So that I take great pride and honor, and then I carry that with me, and realizing that other young girls could be looking up to me and watching me. So don't be afraid to take risks and do the hard things, and which I've never been. And joining the service was no different, especially at 35, to be very honest. And, so what's similar between military nurses and civilian nurses? Well, you need a bachelor's degree to join the service as a nurse corps officer. The Army, Air Force, and Navy have nurse corps officers. The Coast Guard and the Marines do not. So, when it came time for me to join, I just kind of felt compelled to join the Navy and talk to a recruiter. And I think the entire process from start to finish for me took about 6 months. And I was commissioned into the Navy in December 2010 on the USS New Jersey. And I started drilling, I believe 2 months after that. February 2011 is when I started drilling. And because I came in with 12 years of having a degree, I entered as a lieutenant junior grade. And I showed that picture to you. And I went to officer training school. And at the time, reservists did 2 weeks of officer school. Now they do 5 weeks. They changed that, I believe, 3-ish years ago, give or take. I'm not 100% sure on that. But so I went to Newport, Rhode Island for 2 weeks. And, if you've never been to officer school, it is learning military history and tradition, Navy customs, how to wear the uniform, all those things. Getting up at, they woke us up at 4:30 every morning, and we PT'd every morning. I went in October, and Rhode Island in October is cold, especially, and it's right on, that base is right on the water. So it was chilly. Those first couple of days I was kind of, checking myself, what did I get myself into? But after the first week, I kind of settled in and learned a lot, made some great friends, and carried on from there. And I have just not looked back. I have no regrets of my time. So skill-wise, yes, nurses and military and civilian, we're doing assessments. We are doing wound care. We're documenting progress. We are doing medications, drips, ventilators, depending on what your specialty is, OR, PICU, NICU, med surge, labor and delivery, all the skills and all the specialties. They're all there, and they are all the same. We need you need your NCLEX, you need your pass your Board of Nursing certification exam. I have been a nurse now for 27, going on 28 years, and that test still traumatizes me. And I don't have any, nowadays the test I think is harder. So I don't have, I'm not jealous of the ladies and gentlemen today that are taking the NCLEX. But so yes, we all need the same skills. We still need the same programs and licensing. If you know a youngster, middle school, high schooler who is thinking about going into the military, and they're also thinking about going into nursing, and they have ROTC at their school, please get them involved, because that counts towards your time. Wish I had known that. Wish there was that opportunity. I think I might have at least entertained the idea. And professional ethics. Military, civilian, nurse, and we all have to adhere to a code of ethics that we have to follow. What's additional for the military? Well, we have to follow the Uniform Code of Military Justice. We are bound by that. In addition to that, in the civilian side, I'm licensed in Florida. Like I said, I used to live in New Jersey. So if I lived in New Jersey and when I worked in Pennsylvania, I had to be licensed in New Jersey and Pennsylvania. So that's one big difference between military and civilian nursing. Civilian nurses need to be licensed in every state that they want to work in. In the Navy, I came in with a nursing license, and when I go away to my two weeks, I go to Virginia. I've been in Virginia, I've been in Maryland, I've been in California. My license is universal in the service, so I don't have to change or apply for or get anything extra. Extra training, yes, absolutely. We need HIPAA training. That's the Health Information Portability and Accountability Act. I'm sure everybody is well aware of what HIPAA is. So yes, that's additional, obviously, military training, mandatory training. I also have mandatory competencies that I have to do in the civilian side as well. So yeah, so there's some things that don't change. Some things are extra, but yes, I enjoy the things that I have done over the years. This picture is from me in Afghanistan. This was taken during Nurses Week. It is literally the only picture of myself practicing in a hospital as a nurse. I do wish I had more pictures of my time prior to. What is different about military and civilian nursing? Well, first of all, the work environment. Civilian nurses are in clinics, they're in hospitals, they are in home care, they're in schools. Military nurses, we're on bases, we are in field hospitals, we are in deployment zones. Navy-wide, right now, they are deployments to, hi, Jack, hi, Red, thanks for listening in. For especially in the Grenadines. Now I'm jealous. So yes, military nurses, we deploy, and Navy nurses are in Guantanamo Bay, Cuba, Gitmo right now. For you, any civilians who are listening in, Guantanamo, we call that Gitmo. And I believe there are some people around scattered about, but right now the big location is in Guantanamo Bay. Cuba. And you know what? We are going to go ahead and we are going to go take our first commercial break. And when I come back, I'm going to talk more about what it's like to be a Navy nurse and a civilian nurse.
Hombre muerto.
Dead man. 10 years hard time for something I didn't do. You've been living on easy street. Now justice coming to you. You're a dead man. You're a dead man walking.
All right. So before the break, we were talking about the differences in work environment between military nurses and civilian nurses. And one of the things with regards to the civilian nurses is that the work environment of a civilian nurse is typically pretty predictable and stable, right? Because we're in clinics, nursing homes, schools, hospitals, etc. When it comes to the military nurses, it could be unpredictable, it could be austere, it could be combat conditions. So that's definitely one major difference. Um, where have I been? Some of the environments I've been in, like I said, I've been in San Diego Naval Hospital, also called Balboa. I was at Portsmouth Naval Hospital. I was at Walter Reed National Military Medical Center. That's actually been my favorite place to work. Prior to deploying, I received training at LA Trauma Training Center in Los Angeles, California. That was excellent training that I really, really loved and enjoyed. I also had the opportunity to go to the commissioning of the USS Lena Sutcliffe Higbee in Key West in May of 2023. And that was a unique opportunity for me. I had never been to the commissioning of a ship before. I've actually been in the Navy for 14 years now, and I have not been on a ship yet. So I am hoping to get on a ship before my time is up in the service. But this particular instance was really quite amazing of an opportunity for me. I was the assistant editor for the Navy Nurse Corps newsletter. And because the ship was being named after a Navy nurse, I asked my editor and our advisor if we could go to down there and get orders to go down there and cover the story and then write an article about it for the Nurse Corps newsletter. And we were approved. And what a really unique, amazing experience to get to meet lots of other Navy nurses, retired and current, and see some old friends, which was really great as well. And one of the things that I was able to do while I was down there was network. And I met several former Navy nurses, several of whom had served on ships during Vietnam. And that's this picture here. This woman served during Vietnam and was just amazing to talk to and hear her story of serving during that time. And one of the things that I learned that I did not know was that we knew that the men who served in Vietnam were not treated well. But I did not know that the women who served during Vietnam were treated just as badly. And that really kind of broke my heart when I heard that, because here we have all these women. Mind you, all the women who served during Vietnam were volunteers, many of whom were nurses, and they were treated poorly simply because they just wanted to serve their country and do the right thing and take care of our servicemen. And they were treated just as badly as the men. And that really, like I said, broke my heart because I did not know that. So if you come across a Vietnam veteran, always give them respect and support them, and particularly the women. And I think that's a shame because a lot of them have some really great stories that we can learn from. And because that's part of our nursing history, our Navy history as well. And I hope that more of them find the strength and courage to come forward and tell their stories, because they're important and they need to be heard. And people like myself, and they paved the way for nurses like myself and all the ones who have come since them. So if there are any Vietnam nurses listening, Army, Navy, please come forward and tell us your story. Come on my podcast. I'd love to give you a platform to talk about your time in service. There are actually 7 women's names on the Vietnam Memorial Wall, and they are all nurses who were killed in Vietnam as a result of the war that was going on. So yeah, I honestly, that when I found out the level of the fear that they still carry to this day, all these years later after Vietnam, and their discomfort with talking about their story, really just makes me pause and just want to hug them and say thank you. Not only thank you for serving, but please find the courage to tell your story, because it's really important, and they need to be heard. Medical training that we have to do. One of the things we have to do in military nursing is hot onload and offloads when we're getting patients on and off the Black Hawk. I don't think people really understand the power of of the Black Hawk and how important it is to know how to get on and off one of these things safely. So really important training. The focus these last several years has been joint force training. So this training evolution that I did most recently in March was a joint effort between the Army, the Navy, and the Air Force. And we even had the Coast Guard involved a little bit as well. And the plan is to make the exercise bigger next year and involve the Coast Guard even more. So really excellent to be able to practice safety, getting on and off a helicopter with it being on, but getting patients on and off, transferring them to the next level of care, from scene to next level, and then getting them on a C-130 to an even higher level of care. So there's a lot of great training that's going on right now in the military as we prepare for a potential conflict with the near peer. And one of the things that we've done in the Navy is restructure who was attached to whom and how we're going to be deploying. And that also means lots more training so that we are prepared for whatever gets thrown at us. What kind of patients are we taking care of? Great question. Glad you asked. In the civilian sector, we're specializing in all areas: medical surgical areas, pediatric intensive care, neonatal intensive care, adult intensive care, operating room, recovery room. We're dealing with a wide variety of a population. We're seeing a lot of chronic conditions, a lot of different specialties, chronic care across the age continuum, is the words that I'm trying to find tonight. From a military standpoint, we're primarily going to be caring for service members, caring for veterans, caring for the family members of said service members, treating trauma, battlefield injuries, especially if we're in combat zones and in those austere environments. We're going to be treating all kinds of injuries, PTSD, and everything that comes along with serving. Men and women in the service get into car accidents, they get ill, they get cancer. So we treat all of those things as well. Where are we doing those things? Well, we're doing them on military bases. We're doing them at the VA. We are doing them in combat zones. We are doing them in field hospitals. We are doing them on the ships. The United States Navy has 2 hospital ships, one on the West Coast, which is the Mercy, and one on the East Coast, which is the Comfort. So they deploy around the world in unstable or hazardous environments and humanitarian missions and emergency response. The Comfort was deployed during the major earthquake that Haiti experienced, and the Mercy and the Comfort were both deployed during the COVID-19 pandemic. What other additional training do we do in the military? We do lots because we need to be prepared for whatever environment we may be potentially caring for patients in a conflict zone. And that includes cold weather training. I did this but one time. I am not a cold weather person, full disclosure. The first night we slept out in tents in the snow. And the next morning, my toes were so cold, even after being inside for half an hour, that they told me I was not allowed to sleep in the tent in the snow the next night. And I had to actually stay in the shed, which really wasn't it was warm, but it was noisy and uncomfortable. And but nonetheless, we did training in the snow, in the cold, in the frozen tundra of the Poconos of Pennsylvania. And that training is still going on in my old unit up at Fort Dix. It just was not my cup of tea. I preferred the warm weather training with the Cape May Beach Patrol and the Coast Guard. That was much better. In the military, those of you who are listening are in the military, we have a very clear chain of command. We have a very rigid hierarchy. We have military ranks, and we have to follow those. We report to commanding officers. So we've got all of our medical training that we need to function as nurses, in addition to all the military training that we need as well, and need to be prepared for anything in extreme conditions. Opposed to my civilian counterparts in the nursing world, we're answering to hospital administration. Depending on how big your hospital is, you may or may not see administrators. My hospital at Johns Hopkins All Children's, all of the administrators make rounds. They are very visible. They hold town halls frequently, so they are definitely accessible. And something that I believe is truly important to truly be a leader, you have to be visible. You can't lead from the back. You have to lead from the front. You have to have open door policies, and you have to be visible. Otherwise, it just simply doesn't work. I have no tolerance or patience for people who jump chain of command. If you have a problem with me, please come and talk to me. I would appreciate that much better. We are all adults. Please come and talk to me. If we can't solve the issue, then I would say, yes, we should take it up the chain, but definitely don't jump around. If you have an issue with me, please come and talk to me. Otherwise, we're going to have a problem. It is the reason why I left my last hospital before I came to Johns Hopkins, because somebody had a question about something I was doing. And instead of coming to me, went right to the chief nursing officer, who then went to my boss. And then I heard about it. And I just kind of said to my boss, honestly, this is not the right environment for me. I don't function like this. I don't work like this. And I will be looking for a new job. Because I respect and understand the chain of command. It's that important to me. So we'll be talking more about military and civilian nursing when we come back from the break.
Signed up to fight for freedom. What a price you had to pay. Picture in her helmet, missing family every day. Your Lady Liberty, dressed like G.I. Jane. Some scars we'll never see. She will never be the same. She's a mother, she's a daughter, she's a sister and a friend. Standing tall in that uniform until the very end. When Uncle Sam called, she signed that line to serve. 'Cause you can't spell hero without her. On that old dusty base with the meadows that shine, she's been to hell and back for the stars and the stripes. Your Lady Liberty, dressed like G.I. Jane. And some scars we'll never see, and she will never be the same. She's a mother, she's a daughter, she's a sister and a friend. Standing tall in that uniform until the very end. When Uncle Sam called, she signed that line to serve. 'Cause you can't spell hero without her. Yeah, yes. For the ones that didn't make it, we will pause and then we cry. We can still see their smile in every sunrise. She's a mother, she's a daughter, she's a sister and a friend. Standing tall in that uniform until the very end. When Uncle Sam called, she signed that line to serve. 'Cause you can't spell hero without her. 'Cause you can't spell hero without her.
And we're back. Before the break, we were talking about the training and responsibilities between military nurses and civilian nurses. And to continue on with that piece of things, when it comes to lifestyle and commitment and challenges, civilian nurses are going to have more control over their location and their schedule. As military nurses, whether you're a reservist or active duty, that becomes much more restrictive because you have to follow your protocols, you have to follow your chain of command, there has to be a billet available. Active duty nurses are changing their billets every 2 to 3 years. Not so much the case as a civilian nurse, right? You could get a job in a hospital in a position and just stay there forever. You could get a job in a hospital and transfer around to different departments based on what your preferences and taste are. That's kind of my style. I love to be able to move around and do different things. I love the opportunities that the civilian nurses afford me, but I also love opportunities that the Navy offers as well. But there in the civilian side, you have shift work, patient load. Depending on what state you live in, there may not be standard staffing ratios. So burnout is real, shift work is hard, rotating shifts. We're going to have that in the military as well, but you also going to add deployments in there that are a possibility. And how does that impact your family? I was deployed to Afghanistan to be a nurse in the Role 3 combat hospital in 2015. My son was 12 at the time, and I had to make arrangements to make sure that my ex-husband and my parents were ready to jump in and help him and take care of him while I was away. But military nursing, there is that opportunity and possibility that you're going to be deployed to, it could be Guantanamo Bay, could be, at the time we were in Iraq and Afghanistan and Bahrain and Africa, Djibouti, Africa. You could be deployed somewhere stateside. There could be humanitarian crisis. So the opportunity to be away from home is significantly greater, obviously, if you're in the service, as opposed to if you are a civilian nurse. So active duty is a commitment. Reservists are a commitment. In the Navy, it's 1 weekend a month and 2 weeks a year. And when I first got in as a lieutenant, junior grade, and a young lieutenant, that was pretty much the routine. But the higher in rank you go, the more responsibility you take on, and the more you're doing things at home. So 1 weekend a month and 2 weeks a year turns into much more than that. And then especially if you add into it a deployment or opportunities to go on medical missions as well. So even going active duty for a period of time, go to Guam, Okinawa, there's lots of opportunity out there in the military and training. If you want to, I have found that the mentoring in the Navy has been as different than what I experience in the civilian side of nursing. We train to be prepared in the military for anything and everything. We do drills, and we set up the field hospitals, and field hospitals are designed to operate like any other hospital, only they are literally out in the field. They run off of generators, and we have wards, we have the ICU, we have OR, we have the radiology department where we'll have full services of X-ray, CAT scan, MRI, and everything that we need to function in a field environment if need be. We have our corpsmen there to help us. Our corpsmen are fantastic. That is one major difference between military and civilian nursing. Civilian side, we may have 1 or 2 techs on the floor to help us with some basic patient care items. And military nursing, we've got our corpsmen, and they are fantastic. And they can give medications, they can hang blood, they can do assessments and documentation, and really assist us in taking care of our patients. Personally, I have a hard time coming back home to the civilian side of the house when I've been on active duty for a couple of weeks, because I've got corpsmen helping me out. And it is definitely, definitely a whole new world, a different experience. And it makes me think back to the days of nursing when we truly had team nursing, where the RNs and the LPNs and the tech all work as a team and took care of patients. And it's just a different time in healthcare right now. We do things, and when that we talk in the field, we're in the field, right? We're either in large tents that accommodate multiple people, or we may be like in a single man tent, just depending on what exercise are you doing. You learn to get comfortable in the field. Those of us who have been in the military, we know what it's like to be out in the field, and, make sure you pack your earplugs and your pillowcases and your tarp to put on the floor in case the tent floor isn't put down, and bring your paracord to hang your stuff, because you don't want your stuff on the floor, because, critters can like to, crawl into your clothes and make your shoes enclose their home. And, no food in the tent, because food brings mice and mice bring snakes. And then we're all going to have a bad day. You need the headlamp with the white light and the red light, because it makes it easier to walk around at night when you have to get out of the tent to go use the porta-john. And it definitely comes in handy when you have the headlamp on, when you have to use the porta-john at night, because you certainly don't want to be holding your phone and trying to take care of business in the dark, and nobody wants to, drop their phone in the porta john, because that would be, god awful. What else? Civilian nurses, how would you feel if you had to pass, a physical fitness test? We have to, in the Navy's fitness test is definitely different from the Army and the Marines. So every branch is going to be different. In the Navy, we have to do a 1.5 mile run. And then we have to do as many push-ups as we can in 2 minutes. And they got rid of the sit-ups and they've thrown in planks in there. So we have to plank as long as we can. And obviously your score is based on your age and how well you did. But, imagine civilian nurses, if we said to them, hey, by the way, you have to pass a physical fitness test in order to be able to continue to do your job. And, oh, by the way, it goes on your evaluation, right? In the civilian side, you advance if you want to. And if you have an advanced degree, in the Navy, you advance based on your fit reps and time in rank, right? And we have to fill out these fit reps that are based on, filled out annually when you're, per your rank. And then you want to score well, and you want to be above the average. You want to be moving towards the right. That's not how things work in the civilian side of the house. Have a master's degree, don't have a master's degree. What you choose to do just depends on whether or not you want to further your education. It's there in the Navy as well. But if you want to, you will not advance in rank unless you are doing multiple trainings and multiple opportunities for collateral duties and leadership. And all of that stuff is exceedingly important. I myself, I didn't want to stay in one place for too long. So I actually went greenside. That's what we call in the Navy. When you go join a Marine unit, I went greenside for a couple of years. And I will be very honest. I loved my time with the Marines. God bless their little hearts. But I really enjoyed my time, learned a lot. Yes, a lot of time out in the field, rucking, learn the hard way to pack your stuff in like Ziploc bags or waterproof bags, because you could be out in the field and it starts raining and now all your stuff is wet. And I had a very rough minimal sleep night one night after this ruck because it rained while we were rucking and my stuff was wet, and I changed out of a wet uniform into damp short and t-shirts and just didn't sleep well because I was damp and, things smelled because they were wet. And, but you know what? I learned next time I'm out in the field, pack all your stuff in Ziploc bags and put everything in a big, line that bag with a trash bag first, and then individually wrap everything in the Ziploc, because that's how we keep everything dry. Right, guys? We live and learn, we adapt and overcome, and we make it work. So what happens when you get deployed? Well, you have training. Again, there's that advanced training. We don't have these things in the civilian side, but in the military side, yeah, we have to do things that are non-medical to be prepared to be able to provide care for our servicemen and women when we get deployed into austere environments. That includes getting tested and fitted for our gas mask. If you're claustrophobic, this is a nightmare, like myself, including the Humvee rollover. I swear the Navy's trying to cure my claustrophobia because they keep doing things like this to me. So there was the gas mask training, so non-medical stuff. But there was a lot of medical training as well, which was really cool. I got to go, as I mentioned, to LA County for some medical training, and included in that training was time in the burn ICU, which was really eye-opening and really interesting, and I enjoyed. And they also trained us to scrub and circulate in the operating room. Now, by the time I deployed, I had been a nurse well over 13, 14 years and was pretty comfy. But this training for a whole new world of nursing made me feel like a brand new baby nurse all over again. And thank God for my corpsman, who was a scrub tech in the OR, and he kind of talked me through everything and made this a great experience for me. Never had to actually go scrub into the OR, but this was a really great opportunity for me to really push myself outside my comfort zone and to learn something new and have an appreciation for a whole different world of nursing. I do remember a majority of the instruments. I probably could fudge it if I had to. Did not have to when I was deployed in that environment, though. Civilian nurses, we get medical training, military nurses and civilian nurses, we will do what's called TNCC, Trauma Nurse Core Course. But we will also do in the military a course called TCCC, Tactical Combat Casualty Care. Basically getting the patient in, while you're under fire, and get them off the X, stabilize them, and get them to more definitive care. So non-medical training, I should say. When you're deploying, we got to go through your combat training. All right. And those who are not medical and who are, infantry and special forces and SEALs and all those kinds of combatants, this training. But yes, medical folks have to go through this combat training as well. I'm going to be honest, I rather enjoyed my time out in the field learning how to kick indoors and being out on the range and shooting pistols and rifles. And so I enjoyed it. I learned a lot from it. I have no complaints about it. One of the things that I enjoy about the military and being a nurse in the Navy is the additional medical training that I would get and I'm exposed to that I wouldn't get as a civilian. And one of those things is training with the Coast Guard and the Beach Patrol and learning how to do water rescues and things of that nature. So I've gotten a lot of opportunities that I would not have gotten in the civilian side. I have skills as a Navy nurse that I would not do as a civilian nurse. So as a military nurse, I know how to put in tracheostomies, airways here in the neck for you non-medical folks listening, sutures, intubations, different kinds of medical equipment. So I've really gotten some really interesting and unique opportunities. As mentioned earlier, I live in Florida now in Clearwater, and I drill out of Orlando, Florida. And my unit has a relationship with the Run Disney folks. And we have had the opportunity for the last 2 years to be able to provide medical support to the Run Disney races. Really unique opportunity to be able to provide medical support in a whole different environment. Rapid pace medicine, and really appreciate the opportunity to be able to serve alongside this great medical crew that provides support to all the runners at the Run Disney races. Jenna and Chris and Diane are amazing, and I really enjoy my time over there. And it's been amazing to be able to be at Disney in the middle of the night before the park opens to see the experience of, Epcot in the middle of the night. It is an early start, ladies and gentlemen, to provide medical support and even run the race. So medical Run Disney, we are there about 0300, 0330 so that we can be in our places and ready to go at 4:30 a.m. because the run starts at 5 a.m. If you were not aware of that, those Run Disney races are an early start, and all the runners even have to be there by 3:30, 4 a.m. because they close off the roads for safety, particularly for, the 10 and the half and the full marathon. They're running in between the parks and they're out on the road. So safety is of utmost importance. And it is really important that the medical people are there to provide support to more than 10,000 runners per race. So just side notes on there, if you were not aware, Run Disney races are huge, and I am really honored to be able to be a part of that opportunity for them. What else? Again, civilian nurses, we progress if we want to in leadership. Military nurses, we are encouraged and almost enforced to advance our careers via leadership and any and all opportunities that are afforded to us. Official leadership opportunities, mentoring the corpsmen, mentoring junior sailors, new sailors, and really just being supported through courses in leadership as well. And a lot of these courses are also based upon rank. So you'll take some as a junior officer, you'll take some as a senior officer. There's all kind of leadership opportunities in the military that we really aren't afforded in the civilian sector. And I really wish that we were. Even if civilian nurses didn't want to take an official leadership role, I still think we should be offering leadership courses to our civilian nurses so that they can have an awareness of being a leader in their not only in the hospital, but out in their community as well. Wow, and I just realized I have a typo. It's a good thing you guys can't see that because it's really not important at this point in time. I wish there, people, I have not set up my Google Voice yet. Joel and I are working on that, so I could get people to call in and ask questions. But here I am, 14 years into a military career and 27 going on 28 years in a nursing career. And I have no complaints, really. Look, it's hard. Nursing is hard. Healthcare is hard. A young paramedic was stabbed and killed last week in Kansas City, I believe. There were several nurses that have been attacked in the last couple of months around the country by patients. Nurses are being threatened. Our first responders, law enforcement, nurses, doctors, our healthcare providers. Healthcare has been quite a challenge these last many years, particularly since the pandemic. And I wish that I had the answer to fix it, because it makes it so much harder to take care of our patients when people are screaming and yelling at us and threatening us. And just recently, there was a parent that threatened to stab several of the nurses and said some really obscene things afterwards. Hi, MJ. Thanks for listening. So be patient with your healthcare workers. If you or a family member are in the hospital, we are doing our very best. I know that everybody is understaffed. I feel like that's the theme, and many, health, not such as healthcare. It's, the service industry. It's all over the place. So if we could all be patient with each other and really support each other, that would be helpful. I know that everybody is bringing a set of coping mechanisms with them. Some people have more than others. And I get that people are at their worst when they're sick, and it's really hard and challenging. But coming at your healthcare workers isn't going to help you. And it makes things really hard for us when all we're trying to do is just help you get better or help you maintain some dignity, especially if you are, at the end of your life. We want to make sure that you are comfortable. If I could say anything right now, I think it's have conversations with your family members about what your wishes are. I know it's hard, and it's easier said than done, right? But let your family know what your wishes would be if you couldn't make decisions for yourself. It's really important to have those conversations with the people in your life who might be making those decisions. Put it on paper and have a living will, an advance directive. These are conversations that are really important, because at the end of the day, when you are really critically ill in the ICU and the nurses are taking care of you and the doctors are asking your family members to make decisions on your behalf, I've seen family members yelling at each other at the bedside of a patient, and it's really quite awful for us to experience. It's hard on everybody, and at the end of the day, the patient suffers because they just simply didn't make their wishes known. And the nurses who are at the bedside with you, we don't want to see you suffer, and we want you to be pain-free, and we want you to pass with dignity. And so please, if I could relay one important message tonight, it's have the conversations with your loved ones about what your wishes are, because it's hard for us to watch the suffering. It's hard for us to watch the struggle. And a lot of times we have a patient that'll pass away, and we have to write a note and notify the family if they're not there. And if they're there, we help them say goodbye, and we take a body down to the morgue. And then we have little to no time to process what just happened before we're being approached with, hey, we need to put a patient in that bed. So understand that we feel the pain, we feel the struggle, but we learn to compartmentalize and let it out some other time later on. So please take care of each other and have these conversations so that your family members know what your wishes are. And with that, I am going to end with, I hope you enjoyed the presentation tonight on the differences between military and civilian nursing as we celebrate Nurses Day, and the rest of this week is Nurses Week. If you have a nurse in your life, do something nice for them. We always appreciate gifts. Gifts are nice, especially if you've asked us for medical advice. We would definitely appreciate a small token of your gratitude. Always welcome. And for the Dog Tag Diva, I am here to remind you to greet each day with purpose, passion, and tenacity, and be kind to each other.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in to Military Broadcast Radio. As we wrap up today's show, we want to remind you that the podcast of today's episode will be available right after we go off the air. So if you missed any part of the show or want to listen again, be sure to check it out. And remember, we're here to support and honor our veterans. Your stories and experiences matter, and we are committed to giving you a platform to share them. That's right. We're here to give our veterans a voice. So don't forget to catch the podcast and stay connected with us. Giving our veterans a voice.